What's going on, guys? In today's video I want to go over some tips and tricks that Wolfies uses during his fights that help him get eliminations against some of the best players in the world. I'm going to be using footage from the FNCS Warm-Up Cup, which took place on the 14th and 15th of March, as they ended up taking third in what has been one of the most competitive tournaments of the year. So let's get right into it. So let's look at this clip here, which is an endgame clip. This means there are a lot of players surrounding him. So as always when taking fights in endgame, he completely boxes up. This means he's safe from every angle, and this will avoid any situation when third parties try to join the fight. Secondly, Lechi, his duo, is right next to him. This will avoid any situations where he's outnumbered by his opponents. This is something that this duo does very well. It's a theme to their successful fights, so keep an eye out for that. So he tracks his enemy from the side of the box and notices that he's boxed up one level above him. Since there are so many people alive, typically the game servers become a bit laggy, and this means that when the player's builds are broken, there can be a slight delay when replacing these builds. Wolfies uses this to his advantage by spraying at the enemy's floor in an attempt to drop him into his box, which he does successfully. This creates a 2v1 situation where him and Lechi have the advantage over his opponent. He manages to drop the opponent down into his box, and him and Lechi both aggressively push the opponent and hit him for a good amount of damage. This is all because their spacing was so good and they kept close to each other. The next thing to note is how when the opponent gets into the next box away, Wolfies places a wall between them. This might seem counterintuitive, as this means less time to shoot the opponent. What he is doing, however, is predicting what the opponent will do and countering it. If he hadn't placed the wall there, the opponent could have turned around and placed his own wall there, blocking Wolfies and Lechi out. This would then mean that they would need to wall replace, which would have wasted a lot of time and potentially the opponent could have escaped. Instead, he simply places his own wall and edits through it, putting him and Lechi into the same box as the opponent. From then, the opponent has nowhere to go with these two simultaneously spraying at him and is easily eliminated. You can practice this very easily and creative by shooting a shotgun, placing a wall, and then editing through it and shooting again. Practice slowly to get the timing down for this. You don't have to do this with just walls, as you can do this strategy with any build piece. Doing this technique with a ramp is a very underused strategy that can easily trap and confuse your opponents. So let's move on to the next clip, which is a mid-game fight, and the way that Wolfies and Lechis initiate this fight is something that all duos should be doing. Let's watch the clip and then see what we can notice about it. So first, let's look at their positioning here. They're on natural high ground with the enemy below them. This means the two players have no idea that they're about to be targets. What they're trying to do here is to coordinate both players to shoot at one opponent at the same time. Notice how they do this by both counting down from 3 to 1 to ensure that they both start shooting at the same time.
Here, 3, 2, 1. No. Alright, we shot two different people.
Now what we're looking at here is a great example to show the lack of communication can nearly fumble a kill. They end up counting down and shooting at the same time correctly, but don't communicate to each other which target they were meant to be shooting at. They then end up shooting at different players. Luckily, Lechi manages to knock one of the players anyway, but this mistake could have lost them the elimination. So to practice this, make sure you are calling out which opponent you are aiming for. This is typically the player who is closer to you. So in this instance, if I was Wolfies, I would call beam the back one. 3, 2, 1. Hopefully, if we've coordinated this correctly, we'll manage to both shoot the same player at the same time, and we should get an easy knock. Okay, so in this next clip, there are a few different things I want to point out. Firstly, notice how Wolfies breaks the wall. He first shoots the wall with his tactical shotgun, then he pickaxes, then he finally breaks the wall with his shotgun. So why does he do this? Breaking a wall or any build piece with your weapons rather than using your pickaxe can be really valuable because it negates any time wasted by switching back to the pickaxe. This means one less button to press. Let's take a look at all of the buttons you need to press to break the wall with the pickaxe only. I'm going to use the controller buttons as these are the ones I primarily use, but the same concept applies to keyboard and mouse users. So first I must press my pickaxe button to take out my pickaxe. Then I must press the right trigger to swing my pickaxe against the wall. Once the wall has broken, I must press my build button twice, once to build the wall and once to switch me back to my pickaxe, and then I must press RB to switch back to my shotgun. This is a total of 5 actions to replace one wall. Instead, if the wall is replaced using a weapon, all you have to do is press the trigger to fire, and once the wall has broken, you double tap the build button, which will replace the wall for you and switch back to your shotgun. This is a total of 3 actions in comparison to the 5 for replacing it with a pickaxe. This works particularly well with the tactical shotgun. In terms of damage to structures, the grey tack does 50 damage, the green does 52, the blue does 55, the legendary purple tack does 75, and then the epic gold tack does 79 damage. The pump shotgun isn't the best for breaking walls as the delay between shots is too long, therefore it's too easy to get hit by the opponent, so typically it shouldn't be used. The purple and gold tacks are by far the best weapon for wall replacing. The reason for this is because it only takes 2 shots to destroy a fully built wood wall, which makes it really effective for wall replacing and breaking builds in general. For brick and metal structures, it would take too many tactical shotgun shots to break the wall, and would put you into a situation where you don't have enough ammo left in your clip to fight. A good way to prevent this would be to weaken the wall prior to shooting it with the tactical shotgun. Depending on what shotgun you're using, you should weaken the wall to a point where it will break in one hit. This means you should weaken the wall to below 50, 52, 55, 75, or 79 HP depending on what color of tack you had. I would suggest using your assault rifle to weaken the wall and then switching to your tack to break the wall with the final blow. So the next thing to notice about this clip is Wolfies Movement. Him and Lecce have some of the best movement out there, but I want to highlight one move in particular. Let's take a look at the positioning in this clip and notice how he's back against the wall. This is done for 2 reasons. Firstly, this keeps a good distance between him and his opponent. If you're so close to your opponent that you're almost touching, it makes it very difficult to aim. This is because you'll need to do large movements with your crosshair in order to track the opponent efficiently. This is why Wolfies decides to stay at the back of the box, ensuring that he can keep a good distance between him and his opponent so that he can always be more consistent with his aim. The second reason for this is because of phasing. If you aren't familiar with phasing, this is when you're standing midway through a build piece when it's being built or edited, and it makes you able to walk and shoot through it. A phased build piece is indicated by an orange glow to it. So what does this have to do with standing at the edge of a box? Well, if you stand at the edge of a box and you or your opponent places a ramp or a cone, you will phase through it. This will allow you to shoot the enemy through the build piece and catch them off guard. Ensuring that you are positioning yourself at the edge of the box when in the same box as another player can really give you the advantage over the opponent, as they won't expect you to be able to shoot through their builds. So, in summary, build a habit of placing walls between you and your opponent after shooting it with your shotgun. This will prevent you from taking damage in return. Time your shots with your teammates and communicate this clearly beforehand. Use your weapons and particularly the tactical shotgun to break and replace build pieces. And if these build pieces have too much HP, weaken them with an AR from a distance. And stand on the edge of the box while you're in there with another player to ensure you keep good spacing and potentially phase a ramp or cone that they place in there. Hope you guys enjoyed this video and learned a lot. This has been Resub for skillcap.com. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.